All right, looks like we are good to go. Hello, everyone. Happy Black Friday. If you're watching right now, go ahead and let me know how your Thanksgiving was. See a like already coming in on Facebook. Welcome in, everybody. All right, prompts have been posted. Oh, big jump up to 13 viewers on Facebook. Yeah, just go ahead and let me know how your Thanksgiving was if you're interested. I spent my Thanksgiving down in Parkland between the Air Force Base and PLU at my stepsister's house. All went well. Saw some family members I hadn't seen in a couple of years, so it was a really enjoyable experience. Dirk Doppler had Thanksgiving at Wendy's, or at Denny's, excuse me. Yeah, I've heard of people having Thanksgiving at restaurants, but I've never done that yet. My family has not participated in that. We've always had the, one person hosts and the whole family comes over kind of thing. And so that's what we did yesterday, kind of testing out a new venue, and it was really enjoyable, honestly. It was not enjoyable driving back on 512 in the rain, though. Slipping and sliding horizontally on the road, while still going 10 under the speed limit, was less than enjoyable with the reduced visibility and the hydroplaning. 10 out of 10 would not recommend that ever again. Melody says, great to have time off. William says, it was great. Had lots of family over and a new friend we welcomed into our family who's staying with us for a while. 28.5-pound bird. Must have fed the whole family twice over. Yeah, so anyways, talking about the weather real quick. The disturbance has moved well out of our area now. I think what actually happened was the models did a pretty good job actually of showing this system as it came in. Moved up towards Long Beach and then stalled and started moving south very slowly along the Oregon coast. I think these are the remnants of what once was a mid-latitude cyclone off the coast. But this up here, this is a disturbance that's going to be moving in out of the northwest. So we're back to northwesterly flow aloft. This means from northwest to southeast. So we occasionally get some systems that move up towards Alaska and Haida, Hawaii that move down towards the southeast. So we're going to have a little system that clips us. Probably tomorrow. Going to be very weak, and any rain will be short but sweet. This model here, the NAM 3KM, has some rain in the area, mainly the central sound around 3 p.m. or so, and then it moves out really quick. It's even suggesting some really high showers coming through Sunday night as well. And we may have another disturbance come and move in on Monday that could give us a little bit of rain around the area. Nothing too major, not like last night. Unfortunately, this is pretty slow to load for some reason, but this is what it shows for our area as we go into Sunday, excuse me. This is Sunday morning. So, Keith Capolero, hello, welcome back. See, really spotty shower amounts maybe getting up to about, see right there on the county line, we have about 1/10 of an inch. So only going to see around 1/10 of an inch through the I-5 corridor. And this is south of Seattle. It's looking like Seattle northward's going to get nothing out of this, which a lot of you guys who want a dry day looks like you're in luck. Keith says it's a little bit windy up in the Bellingham area. Yep, northeast Fraser River outflow at its finest. They actually had an outflow wind gust of 37 up there earlier. I think that was at the airport. Might have been around the airport, but a 37 mile per hour northeast gust. And as some of you may not know, if you're on YouTube, you didn't know this. I'll let the Facebook audience know that there was a 41 mile per hour gust out of the northeast. Yeah, there was a 41 mile per hour gust out of the northeast, and let's see if we can pull that up real quick. No, for some reason it's not going to load right now. Even if I do that, it just completely kicked off the Narrows station for some reason. So I'm going to try rebooting the layer and see if that works. Sometimes it just needs a little kickstart. So he's showing it on here. Nope. For some reason, it just decided to completely omit the Narrows station here. But this hit 41 earlier. And it was out of the northeast, so it was 180 degrees opposite of the direction the wind usually moves in from. Wind usually moves in from the south-southwest along the narrow strait here. It instead came out of the northeast, backwards compared to what we normally get. So you even hit 30 here at D'Aquila. I'm noticing too, even SeaTac's now showing up on this, so I wonder if I just have a setting that's off. Probably just have a little wonky setting at the moment, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. But yeah, some gusty winds around the area from the northeast, and that mainly has a lot to do with the Fraser River outflow too. So due to the positioning of this trough that came through last night, it didn't actually move inland and bring the pressure rise with it. And the cold front, I believe, also stayed off the coast, or mainly along the Oregon coast, because some of these stations got over 50 miles per hour last night here in northwestern Oregon. And the wind was out of the south, so most likely the cold front moved down into Oregon with the system. But this resulted in offshore winds being pulled off the coast and around the system counterclockwise, because that's how areas of low pressure rotate here in the northern hemisphere. Rotate counterclockwise. So it ended up pulling some wind out of the east, and the farther north you go, out of the northeast. It was pulling through all of the mountain and river gaps. It even had some wind backflowing here through the Salish Sea as well, as the system made a close approach. So a lot of these winds were offshore, something that we're not usually accustomed to with those storm systems that come through. Because normally they move inland, but this one stalled off the coast and then started moving towards the south. Now, why exactly that happened, I'm not 100% sure. It's got more so to do with the upper level environment than it does the surface level environment. I believe it has something to do with the jet stream orientation. And Windy just froze again. And nothing new here. I usually have issues with Windy and radar scope here on the PC. But this is just a look right now. There's some high clouds moving into the area. I know most of us enjoyed a really sunny day today. It was a breath of fresh air after all of the downpouring rain that we had last night. You know, it came down pretty close to torrential down where I was at for Thanksgiving. It was still coming down pretty good when I got back home in Milton. Yeah, we would not want to drive like that again, for sure, especially on the freeway. But there's some high clouds coming in, and our next system somewhere up here is going to clip us out of the northwest tomorrow afternoon by the looks of it. See, most of the precipitation stays over Vancouver Island this round too. See, it moves from northwest to southeast. Not a lot of rain here in the lowlands. Most of it stays over the higher elevations and over the Willapa foothills. Some of it making its way north of the Olympics too. So since this system's coming out from the northwest, the rain shadow is more so casted here on the southwest interior and the South Sound. So about 90 degrees off from its normal rain shadow here over the Salish Sea area. You know, just some weather anomaly goodness, I suppose. See, the NAM model's picking up that outflow pretty good. It's oriented a little more north than usual. And see, it's even picking up here on some east winds through the mountain gaps as well. Let me zoom in and show you guys a closer look at this. Not expecting it to be too strong. This model usually overdoes it, but it does do a good job at showing where the winds will occur, just not usually how strong. So this shows the wind kicking up later tonight around the area, and I'll probably be making a post on this later on as well for the Facebook and the Patreon audience. See, it's relatively short-lived though, and then we get a little more of this northeast Fraser River outflow up here as we go into Sunday morning. So the winds will probably last... Just trying to get my timing right here. From probably around 10 p.m. some areas will start feeling it, maybe a little earlier, so in the next few hours probably. Some wind out of the east that kicks up a little bit, and I'll go over to the Euro to compare this. You know, the Euro doesn't have the hourly basis, at least here on Pivotal Weather. It goes on 6 hours, 6-hour intervals. I believe if I was still on Weatherbell, it would be hourly, but you know, that's a whole nother story. I got kicked off my Weatherbell about a month and a half ago or so now, and had to transition to Pivotal Weather. But it still tells the same overall story, so no major complaints there. Kim Foster says it was great. Lots of food and fun. Great to hear, Kim. Thank you for letting me know. Wonder what the HER model shows on this. Let's go with the latest 18Z HER model. Usually the HER model keeps the winds more confined into the mountains, which is usually the result that we get. Does have a little bit of it making its way down towards the Renton area though. Maybe Issaquah, but nowhere near as strong as it's showing on the NAM. So I'd say this is the more believable solution here. Yeah, it's still picking up on these Fraser River outflow winds pretty good. This was earlier in the afternoon though, so now we're looking off into the future. So really anything 5 p.m. and beyond. Let's see what the HER has to show for radar as well. The HER might actually show less rain than what the NAM is showing. Yeah, the HER actually doesn't have any of this accumulating over the Tacoma or Olympia area. And the most likely cause of this is because most of the precipitation is in the upper levels. It doesn't always make it towards the ground. Or it's just little radar fragments that the model is picking up on. It doesn't always translate to rain. Like the radar will pick it up, but it isn't always rain. It's usually high clouds from time to time. Snow Brainiac says good evening. Hello, thank you for tuning in. Not as much audience today, and I expected that. It's Black Friday. There's probably some people that are still out there following the tradition. And I know we had the Black Friday football game earlier. Is there a nighttime football game tonight? I don't believe there is. I think it was just the one that we had at noon today. But feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Keith says the wind has died down now. All right, good. Yeah, so how much rain you get with the disturbance that comes by tomorrow really just depends on your model of choice. But it doesn't look overall impressive around here, nonetheless. We're still quite a ways out from having the next European render. This is farther off into the future. This is the beginning of next week. So we're expecting a few lighter systems to come through Monday and Tuesday, and maybe a break on Wednesday, and possibly Thursday as well. The weather pattern kind of goes back to stagnant because of that upper level ridge that we have in place. These systems will undercut the ridge, but they'll be much weaker in nature compared to where they were before up here to our northwest. So they'll be weakening as they move down towards the southeast into our area. And see, it seems to be picking up that rain shadow feature pretty good here as well over the Seattle metro. But down in some parts of Tacoma, Pierce County, so like Bonnie Lake, Buckley area here, it has around a ½ inch all the way through Tuesday. And this is total, so this won't be all at one time. This will be as we go on into the next 6 days. So this is the total after 144 hours. And as you can see, overall not too impressive. Looks like Everett takes the cake, at least for what you can see on this map for cities. But overall, it looks like the North Pierce County, South King County area will probably take the cake for most rain over the next 6 days. And even then, it's hardly even a tiddlywink compared to what we had the last few days around here. Any fantasy snow, Kirk Doppler? I talked about this on my subscriber tab on Facebook and Patreon, but it currently doesn't look great for snow anytime soon, unfortunately. And I'll zoom out and give you guys the overall diagnosis on this. So we're looking at the European ensemble, and we'll go to the last one because this goes out to 15 days. Let's go with average positive snow depth change. We're going to load hour number 360 here. So see, Cascades and Olympics get their snow. Some areas here along the Rockies also get their snow, and some of the snow dips down towards the Great Lakes region and the Northeast. And showing some pretty good snow along the northern Appalachians as well. But if we zoom in to this area, you notice we have a lot of zero around here. So the European ensembles aren't picking up on this. Unfortunately, the AI ensemble does not have this option yet. In the GFS ensemble, also called the GEFS, let me make sure. Okay, so the 18Z is fully rendered on that. This one's going to be lower resolution, so it's going to be a little bit obscured compared to what the European's showing. So see the much lower resolution, you can actually see a lot of the polygons here. There's a lot less smoothing on this one. But you notice how it has a little bit of the snow leaking down into the lowlands? Don't believe this for 1 second. The GFS and its ensemble members have a terrible bias of having what's called terrain bleed around the area. It doesn't always exaggerate the mountains as well. It sort of thinks of these as lower level hills. And so that terrain sort of bleeds off into the lowlands here. And you notice where it says it's picking up some snow, but it has a hard time deciphering the change in altitude between the mountains and the lowlands. So I don't believe this. It's most likely going to be nothing over the next, in this case, 16 days. This is all the way out to December 14th. That's just because the upper level air pattern is going to be far from sufficient to allow any cold Arctic air west of the Rockies. Most of it stays east. Any snow for Leavenworth next weekend? Well, I guess we can take a quick look at that real quick. See what it says for the Leavenworth area. You notice this is based on snow depth, so this isn't total accumulation. So it's going to factor in the melting period and the reaccumulation periods as well. It's sort of like the snow map is breathing a little bit, but it's extremely irregular breathing. So next weekend, so you're probably guessing sometime around Friday through Sunday, right? So Wenatchee's here, so that means Leavenworth is right around this area here. And yeah, it's showing between 4 to 6 inches for that area as we go through the weekend. So I can definitely expect some new snow to fall up there. Let's go look at total snowfall overall. And this isn't counting the snow that's already on the ground over there. If there's still any snow in Leavenworth, which I believe there is. Last time I checked. And you're going over Stevens, I'm assuming, right? To get over there? Yeah, it looks like most of the snow holds off until the weekday. So I don't believe your past travel should be very impactful during that time. I think it should be a safe overall trip for you. He said, correct. We'll be going over Stevens. Yeah, so let's check total snow depth again overall. So at the 0 hour here, this is assuming how much snow depth is currently, how much snow has already been accumulated on the surface. So it factors in the melting, so that amount goes down a bit, and then it pulses back up a little bit. And you see that's still only about a 2-inch depth change during that time. So it holds pretty steady through the weekend. So it looks like there's actually going to be more melting through the weekend than there is accumulating. This is what this is trying to factor in here. Kim Leonard on Facebook says, happy for the calm weather. For now, that is. I haven't taken a really good look at the 12Z European to check out the storm systems, but I know that the second week of December was looking particularly active, at least for a couple of runs here. So we can look at that real quick. So this is the system that could clip us tomorrow. See a little bit of mountain snow possible here. Not too much though. It's going to be very short-lived. Maybe another system, a little bit stronger here, going through Tuesday morning. A little more mountain snow. Some of it may be a mix over some of the southern passes here. But it's looking more like snow over Snoqualmie and Stevens right now. But again, relatively short-lived. Then another little calm period. And it looks like we may start to kick up a little bit by next weekend. So it may actually be a pretty nice second half of the week coming up. Going into the first week of December. Yeah, Keith, late January is really far and extended. So I can say that with 0% confidence. We have this weakening front by the looks of it. Some of the previous model runs were showing this little impulse here, holding its strength as it transversed down the coast of BC here. Because it looks like the flow is still going to be out of the northwest, so systems are going to be coming from this way and not down from here. So that really mitigates any Pineapple Express concerns. Not really atmospheric river in general, but Pineapple Express from the southwest direction here is pretty much fully mitigated. And then it shows another front coming through on Wednesday the 10th. Not as strong as it looked previously. So actually, this is my first time viewing this all the way out into the extended, and it's looking less robust than it was yesterday. So maybe some good news for you non-weather lovers. Let's go see what it says for gusts around the area. Yeah, not super impressive. I don't see anything over like 37 here for the sound. Saturday the 6th. Then the next one, a little bit of strong winds up here in the foothills and mountains of Whatcom County, some of Skagit County, and a little bit over the open waters, but not looking too impressive again over the Puget Sound. And by the end of the 360-hour run, we only have 2 weak to moderate-sized systems coming through, which, you know, again, is really impressive that we're having this happen at this time of the year. And we can zoom out and look at the upper level air maps to get a little better idea of what's going on above the ground. First off, let's look at 500 millibar height anomalies. This is at 18,000 feet. And you notice we have the orange over our area for a little bit. And some of these systems try to undercut it a little bit, but then the ridge continues to build over the Gulf of Alaska. That's going to continue to slide to the east, and this is what's going to give us a lot of our pleasant weather coming up. This unusual ridge for this time of the year off the coast. You know, normally we'll just bring trough after trough after trough through, and this is a massive deep trough over the northeastern United States. See, even with some weak weather systems clipping into this ridge here, it's just a relentless ridging pattern. A little bit of relief. See, we swing a weather system through there on the night of the 10th, but then the ridge is back, and it's just not letting up. Wind gusts and any of that you just showed. No more than 35 miles per hour, so just a microcosm of what could happen this time of the year. But yeah, we just have a relentlessly dry weather pattern setting up again over this area. See, this is the disturbance that clips us tomorrow. And then this is the disturbance that comes through Monday into Tuesday. And then that period of nice weather, the ridge starts to back off a little bit, and then that next little system that clips us on Saturday. And then maybe the ridge may be a little bit too far east to allow any other systems to come in until it starts to back off and move east, and then it brings this weak trough in. But this is all the way out 13 days into the future, so this is guaranteed to change. It's just an overall impressive signal here, and another cutoff low over California to bring some active weather that way. So you notice how this low intensifies and then separates from the jet stream? That is a cutoff low, aka a closed low, so it completely severs itself from the upper level air pattern, the polar jet stream. It moves like this over the area. No Arctic cold front yet, that is correct. No signs of it, at least. So if we could have moved this Arctic air about 300 to 400 miles to the west and brought that system through yesterday at just the right time, yesterday would have been a complete whiteout across the area. But no, it had to be east of the Rockies. So just another thing that didn't go the snow lovers' way around here. And overall, our 850 millibar or 5,000 foot temperatures are well above normal for this time of year, going way out into the extended. Like, geez, look at that. Dark orange pushing red for all of western Washington. This is all the way out the night of the 9th. Some ridiculously warm temperatures at 5,000 feet. This would bring the snow level way over pass level. Most likely only the highest peaks, like the Cascade volcanoes, would get any snow from this sort of setup. Cool things down a little bit, but we just don't have that reserve of Arctic air up here. You know, it's an amazingly underwhelming pattern for this time of year, to be honest. When will we see snow? Not anytime soon. I can almost say that with 100% confidence. Not anytime in the next 2 weeks. The GFS may be a different story, but this is far from a reliable model compared to the European. We can entertain the possibilities, but it's just too far away from a given. It's more so a gamble. See, it has the air where it needs to be. It's just got to be a little bit farther to the south, and then we activate that Fraser River outflow with a little surface low that comes through here. And then that would probably be enough to bring the Arctic air in. But that still doesn't look like it's going to be the case. See, it's running cooler than average in the GFS model here, but it keeps a lot of the cooler air down towards California and east of the Rocky Mountains again. So a little cooler than average in the extended on the GFS, but still nowhere near cool enough for snow to fall. Virginia Burkhart says, great. Yeah, there's no telltale signs of snow anytime soon, at least through the first half of December. See what the 18Z has to show, because I saw that was the 12Z. So let's go check out the newest up-to-date run. And the newest run is actually worse. It still keeps those well above average temperatures west of the Cascades here for a majority of the extended forecast. A little bit of that Arctic air up here, but it's nowhere near far enough south yet. And you notice it transverses towards the southeast and not towards the south like you would need it to. Just not an overall great synoptic setup for snow around here. You know, the temperatures at 5,000 feet and down towards the surface are going to be far too warm. Oh yeah, the surface temperature anomalies are even worse. Guess I have to zoom out a little bit to see that. Yeah, these are in degrees Fahrenheit. So halfway into December and the temperatures are around 15 degrees above average for this time of year, which is just nuts. Absolute mayhem. So we get a little below normal the first week, but just a little bit, a few degrees below normal. And then a little bit more than that last day of November, so in a couple of days. It's going to be a little cooler than average. But it heats up really quick again after that. So you were over 15 degrees above normal by that point. I want to see what it thinks the temperature is going to be. In the mid-50s. Yeah, that's toasty for this time of year. Usually by this time, our highs start going down into the 40s. It has our highs in the mid-50s. I want to see what the National Blend of Models has to say about this. This is the one that the NWS typically uses. This one only goes out to 239 hours though, so doesn't go all the way out to the 360 or 384 hour period like the other models do. It gets pretty chilly as we go into Sunday around here. It has some areas here in the South Sound pushing near freezing. But then we don't cool off very much after that. Here, temperatures, and it agrees with this timeline here. It has our temperatures back into the 50s for most of us by Saturday the 6th. Saying Saturday night temps up here are going to be between 29 and 33. Yeah, we'll probably have to go to a shorter range high-res model to see that and zoom in. Because it's pretty hard to tell on the national blend of models. You know, it's an ensemble, so it takes the average of many models. We may just have to go to one definitive model to really see this. You said by Saturday. Yeah, let's see. So this is 2 meter temperatures, so around 6.28 feet above ground level. Right now it says around 34 as a low going into Sunday morning, but even has some areas here in the South Sound Sunday morning staying down into the... See, it has my direct area just a hair below freezing. So may have another frost coming up for some areas this weekend. Those are the lows. Yeah, the model I'm using right now is just observed temperature. Like, not observed, but forecast temperatures. Ooh, my dad is messaging me with a weather question, so I'm going to have to address him real fast. Okay, I want to see if the HER goes any colder. Yeah, the HER's cooler. Although these models probably don't pick up the Fraser River outflow as well as they should. So yeah, locally the temperatures will be lower than what are seen on these maps. Especially if you're directly exposed to this Fraser River outflow up here. So what Keith is saying is correct. All right, welcome everyone. It's been a while since I've checked the views. So 18 likes on Facebook, thank you guys. 6 likes on YouTube. Yeah, I made a post about my Black Friday sales that I just launched today, and it bombed. Yeah, so I made another weather post in addition, and the weather post, of course, took off, skyrocketed. But if anyone's interested, I do have... Let me make sure I'm on the right site here. There we go. I'll refresh this, but yeah, I just launched a bunch of new designs. And unfortunately, it looks like the service I'm using here, Spreadshop, actually denied one of my designs because it used the word marine on it, which is weird. They don't allow anything that says marine, which I just found kind of odd. So it looks like one of my designs might have gotten canceled, actually. So I was releasing a shirt that shows the marine push, and it doesn't look like they liked it. So, anywho, do have several of these designs, like Certified Radar Watcher. This one was specially requested by one of my viewers, and I'm hoping they can reach out to me to see if this is a plausible design for them. But they requested a design that said, "My wife watches weather streamers." And so I put the logo here as well, just so it wasn't blank text, you know what I mean? And I think this design is pretty cool. The Big Dark. And then Storm Train. I think it's pretty clever, but, you know, to each their own. I will accept opinions. If there's anything you'd like to change for the next lineup. And through the next 3 days, so Friday through Sunday, 30% off everything on $70+ orders if you guys are interested in checking out Black Friday deals. For the merchandise, unfortunately, I only get to keep about 30% of the total earnings. The rest of it goes back to the spread shop. It is what it is, but all helps at this point. Okay, so 0Z is rendering now. This one will go out to 48 hours. I can at least see what it wants to do with these easterly gusts overnight. Yeah, the HER usually keeps it up into the foothills a little farther, mainly away from civilization, but it does have some of these gusts of 25 to 30 miles per hour working its way down into communities like Hobart and Black Diamond. But not looking like anything reaching Enumclaw in this. Ken Moffat says Big Dark is cool. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting design too. I came up with it when a lot of people were talking about the Big Dark for this time of the year. That's what a lot of the meteorologists in the area were using. I took that as some motivation and I made a design out of it. Yeah, I need a few more frames to render here to really get a plausible forecast out of this. And see, yeah, the Euro's picking up on this too. It has around 20 to 25 mile per hour gusts for the Enumclaw area. Which is not too impressive. See if there's a... Yeah, there's a little bit of a pressure gradient, but it's not too intense. So only around 4 millibars between North Bend and Cle Elum. So nothing is super impressive. So I'll be putting out a post on that tonight, most likely, because it has it getting a little breezy east of North Bend tonight, but nothing near impactful. The European right now has a peak of around 36 miles per hour between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. tomorrow. Then a little bit breezy with that next system that clips us on Tuesday. But over the 6-day period, there's nothing standing out when it comes to inclement weather. Some passing showers, that's about it. Really boring weather for this time of the year. And I know people enjoy it, but I'm just one of those guys that would like to keep the active weather pattern up so I could keep myself busy. Because during these slow times, it's less than enjoyable. When you're trying to stay busy with your... I wouldn't quite call this a career yet. There's still a long ways to go before I call it that. But let's just call it an occupation right now. An online occupation. I see a few more likes and a few hearts in there as well. Thank you guys for liking the stream. If you guys are satisfied with the coverage, please consider a small donation to help keep Puget Sound Storm Watch full time. How about riding the storm train with a picture of a lightning bolt? Yeah, that's very similar to what I did here. So, you know, I will admit right now, the design for the Big Dark and the storm train are AI generated. but I made quite a few tweaks outside of the AI generation. So I just used AI to generate the image, but I made quite a number of tweaks manually. So it's not fully AI generated. It was just for inspiration for the most part. And so it's literally, it's a train with a lightning bolt in the background and some text that says storm train. So it's not super intuitive. Like I use an AI generated background of Seattle. This was through Adobe stock. And then I tweaked it some more. I sent it through Grok AI on X, aka Twitter, to add some darkness to it, and then added the text, the big dark. So it's not going to come out perfect, but you're not going to see a lot of the designs, like the specific detail on the shirts or anything like that matter anyways. Like, you can tell this is Seattle and that's Mount Rainier in the background, although it kind of looks like Mount Fujiyama a little bit, but it's nothing I'm going to nitpick. Yeah, I was considering just doing like a train clip art and then adding some stuff into it, but it just didn't look as good overall as this, in my opinion. But yeah, anyways, got some updates as well. I got, looks like I had 3 coffees donated today. So thank you on Facebook. Looks like a couple of you guys donated from Facebook. Thank you guys so much for donating coffees. Wouldn't be able to do this full time without you guys. I'm going to leave the links down to this in the description. You can also send packs of stars on Facebook as well. 1 star costs 1 cent, so you can send them in packs. Of course, no pressure, only if you're interested, but if the interest is there, consider helping out your buddy here at Puget Sound Stormwatch. Times are certainly tough, I will say. And I want to keep doing this full time for as long as I possibly can. But right now, it's just not feasible, if you know what I'm saying. I wonder why it stopped picking up a lot of the stations here on the map. Even when I select all, it's missing so many stations. So we're missing the 41 here at Tacoma Narrows this morning now, for some odd reason. Well, overall, these are just max wind gusts since midnight around the area, minus a few stations. Some areas hit 30 miles per hour, and once again, these are offshore winds as well. See 44 up here near Forks, 31 north of Cape Flattery, and here's that 37. This occurred northwest of the airport in Ferndale, but we did hit 38 at the Bellingham Airport this morning. So pretty strong northeasterly Fraser outflow winds. That is weird. Yes, it is. See 57 down here near Mount St. Helens. That's common though, so that really doesn't capture my eye as much. Overall, a breezy day this morning and last night too. Since that area of low pressure didn't make direct landfall, it just kind of siphoned the winds offshore along the north end of it as it moved down to the south. Let's see, 35 and 40 here. These stations, I believe, hit 53 and 55 last night. And 60 just outside of Mount Hood. So strong easterly winds coming through the gorge as well with that setup. 66 down here. But you can tell if the weather is boring because I don't normally go into this much detail about winds this minuscule in magnitude. Just waiting for one of these new models to drop anytime now. All right. Okay, anyone watching right now, do you have any questions you'd like to ask? It's going to take this time for some Q&A. If anyone has anything they'd like to have addressed. Also time for a water break, too. Big sip out of the infamous 1-gallon jug. Ooh, yeah, most of the viewership's gone. Must be Black Friday shopping. See if there's anything particularly interesting coming up. I want to see what the Canadian model shows. It's not always the most accurate model, but it does show some pretty interesting solutions sometimes. So you're like, it's showing a little breezy day around here for Sunday the 7th at 10 p.m., but that almost certainly is not going to verify. Yeah, again, nothing too crazy right now in the extended. Was looking like it was going to heat up a bit on some models as we go into the second week of December, but now it's gone a little more benign compared to what I was seeing before. It's just because of that stubborn upper level ridge over our area. With the jet stream being off to our east over the Rockies, it's allowing this area of high pressure to just camp over the area. Quiet day for weather today. Truth. Yeah, I posted another reel on Facebook this morning, and it sounds like people really like the reels, so I'm going to continue to hopefully do regular weather reels on Facebook. Also doing more shorts on YouTube as well. There's a long ways to go before monetization here on YouTube. Yeah, not a lot to talk about, Keith, and that's probably why a lot of people are not jumping on right now. There's usually an initial interest when people see I'm live, but then when they just see me kind of yapping like this about calm weather, they usually start to quickly disappear. Yeah, majority of my audience is on Facebook. Actually, more of my audience right now is on YouTube. There's quite a few of you hanging on YouTube, so thank you guys for your vigilance. Really trying to build up the watch hours so we can get closer to monetization benefits on here. That'll quickly accelerate us towards, growing across the area. And of course, eventually I got to force myself to do the daily briefings again, even if they weren't daily before. Really, the only person that makes daily briefings nowadays is Michael Snyder on Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. And he has the largest audience by a mile on YouTube. But Ben's Washington Weather Chasers blows everyone out of the water except for the NWS offices on Facebook. You know, huge shout out to those two guys. See a few new likes coming in on Facebook. Thank you guys. Yeah, looks like no questions right now. Was anticipating streaming longer, but it's probably not going to happen today. Yeah, I was hesitating streaming at all because I knew it was Black Friday, but I didn't think there would be this many people out. But I guess I was probably wrong. So look at Jetstream behavior and zoom out a little bit. Maybe this will give us a better idea of what's going on in the upper levels. Yeah, you notice how the jet stays to our east for a majority of the extended. And when the jet dips to our south, that's when it lets the troughs in these weather systems in. But then it quickly keeps moving back off to the east, where these ridges keep amplifying over the area. You know, if you want active weather, this is not the pattern you want to see. This is indicative of strong upper level ridging. And the cold air is with this little long wave trough extending out towards the Great Lakes. So that's the area that's going to get the snow, not us. And then there's that little cutoff low as well over California. Starts to cut off towards the very end of the forecast run. Let's, Snow Brainiac, let's see some polar vortex forecast. Yeah, I wonder if we can also see, I don't know if we have the layers on here, but the sudden stratospheric warming as well. I know Weather Bell goes up to a whopping 10 millibars of pressure. It looks like Pivotal Weather only goes up to 200 millibars, which I believe is around 35,000 feet. So still well into the troposphere by this point. Yeah, winter weather forecasting isn't my specialty, but I can at least try and give it a go. So yeah, all of your winter weather is going to be primarily to the north and east of this line here. And yeah, it keeps a lot of it mainly to the northeast United States and the Great Lakes region. Like that would be the place to be for any sort of snow. A friend in New York got snow last night. Yeah, the Great Lakes region, I have a family out here in Indiana, and they've been getting quite a bit of snow over the last week or so, too. See, that would probably bring some pretty significant snow across the Midwest if everything were to line up. See, extremely strong polar jet stream going over the eastern seaboard. And then this huge trough extension down towards the lower Appalachians. Definitely looks good for snow out there. So you just look at the depth of that trough right there, and it really amplifies over the New England region. Even before that, pretty strong trough over the Great Lakes region as well. Stays over central Ontario a bit, extends down into the Ohio River Valley, but just overall a really good look for snow over the Midwest and Great Lakes region. So multiple rounds of snow coming up for them. Multiple. But for us, nothing. A reverse omega block. Yeah, you said it. It's kind of like an inverse omega block. Yeah, I'm no expert when it comes to blocking weather patterns, but I'll usually see an omega block. I'll usually know an omega block or a Rex block when I see one. I'm just not really seeing that pattern here at 850 millibars. This would be a nice storm system for the desert southwest. This little closed cutoff low here. It's only just beginning to separate from the upper level jet at the 360th forecast hour here. But yeah, I'm not even seeing any atmospheric river potential really over the next 2.5 weeks. You know, it looks like any atmospheric rivers that happen will stay mainly north of Vancouver Island. But we're still way too far to get anything accurate out of this. 100%. One thing I don't check out too often are the weeklies. These are the really, really long range extended models that run twice a day. And as you can see, really extremely, extremely limited parameters to choose from here. But it takes 100 different ensemble members and averages them out. That is twice as many as the normal European ensemble. So these are the extended ones. See, it shows a little bit of troughing way out. Like this is the New Year period here. This is between hour 7:56 and 9:24. So there's a week in between each little jump here. Starting at hour 2:52. So this is 10.5 days in the future. Yeah, see, it's still picking up on that huge ridge off the coast here. Kim Leonard says awesome. She just wants to hear anything nice weather. You see that ridge is still hanging around the west coast, way out into the end of December here, and only then do we start to get some cooler air down here. See, it still has that ridge hanging on. May not be till well into January before we have our first real snow chance around here. It has that ridge hanging off the Pacific. Temperatures, we stay at or above average around here, going all the way into the first week of January. Not seeing any cold air, Keith says. That is correct. Not looking good for snow lovers, unfortunately. Not by any means. There's not a lot going our way when it comes to snow right now. That's not the signal you want to see for snow. Good signal here for the East Coast, though. See, this is snowfall rate anomaly. Nothing for the lowlands. Nothing. Not an ounce of snow for the lowlands. Check precip rate. Precip rates fluctuate rapidly over the next 42 days. Like it goes wet, dry, little bit wet, little bit wet. So really bouncing around here in the extended. All right, thanks again for liking the stream on Facebook and YouTube. We are simulcasting once again for Black Friday. Although most of the points have already been talked about, and it looks like most of the viewers are leaving, so we're going to begin to wrap things up. Really short stream today, but people are going out shopping most likely, and the weather's nice, so they're going to enjoy it. So it's kind of a given that today is not going to be a real great day for streaming. I think barring any last minute questions from any of the viewership, we're going to begin to wrap things up pretty early today. Let's pull up this forecast discussion real quick. Even the forecast discussions are extremely short. Like, this is not entertaining whatsoever. you don't see forecast discussions this short this time of the year. It's just something completely out of the ordinary with that. A clear, mild afternoon will continue across western Washington as high pressure builds in. Quote, high pressure. Partly cloudy but dry weekend is in store with only weak passing systems expected into next week. A stronger system is possible late next week and the next weekend, so something is catching their eye too here at the Weather Service office. It's looking like maybe the 5th or 6th of December could feature a slightly stronger system with more rainfall around the area. Still not seeing much in terms of wind though, which is good news for a lot of people. Sue McGrath on Facebook says thank you. Thank you, Sue, for tuning into the stream. Appreciate it. Looks like you're a top fan as well. Awesome sauce. Yeah, as high pressure builds in and sunshine returns. Says low temperatures will also be coming down in the mid 30s over the weekend, with 20s in the foothills and at the pass levels. Winds will be light and generally northeasterly, so out of the northeast. Fraser River outflow textbook right there throughout the weekend. It's mainly where our winds have been this morning and afternoon, are out of the northeast with that Fraser River outflow. Just because the system that came through last night did not actually move inland. It stopped off the coast and then started moving south before it deteriorated. And so that created an offshore pressure gradient that pulled the winds in through the mountains and the river valleys, which you don't usually see too much this time of the year unless you have a really strong offshore low that siphons the air in through the mountain gaps. You know, bomb cyclone last year, something like that. But overall, we're really just expecting breezy winds out of the east tonight and tomorrow morning, mainly for the King County foothills, but nothing of concern, but still something that is worthy of a follow-up post. Just to let people know, like, hey, your Christmas decorations are going up. This may be the first little slight test for you guys. In the hydrology section, this usually has a couple paragraphs. Flooding is not expected over the next 7 days. How boring is that? Washington watches, warnings and advisories, nothing. A couple of marine advisories out for small craft, but that's it, and that's completely normal. Even the aviation section, which usually talks about variable flight rules here, only one paragraph a pop. Variable flight rules expected throughout the day tomorrow. Even the long term is a paragraph and a half. You just don't usually see discussions this short during this time of the year. Generally quiet weather persists through much of the week. Yeah, like Keith says, they're usually pretty long this time of the year, so it's really unusual. In each of these systems, some late mountain snow is possible, but won't accumulate to particularly impactful amounts. In between these periods of rain, expect it to be mostly cloudy. The deterministic model runs, so this isn't the ensemble runs. You're suggesting a more potent system possible late in the week, while the ensemble cluster shows more of a ridge dominance. So ensembles and deterministics are in a fist fight with each other for the extended period. Yeah, the Facebook audience is pretty much gone. So it's a perfect time to start to wrap things up. Short stream today, really not much in terms of weather coming up over the next week or so. You know, a couple of small systems, some east wind, but nothing impactful expected over the next week. Well, right now we'll be watching the December 5th or 6th timeline for a potential system, but outside of that, not much else coming. And if you guys would like to learn more about the extended forecast, I go over the extended quite a bit. If you become a Facebook subscriber for 99 cents a month to help Puget Sound Stormwatch, or Patreon as well. Patreon, I also have a 7-day free trial for the long-range forecasts. It's a tier called the Intro Forecaster tier. $1.99 a month after the 7-day free trial. If you guys want to check that out on Patreon. Keith says, have a great day, Anthony. Yes, Keith, thank you for tuning in. You have a great night yourself. And to everyone on Facebook as well, thank you guys for tuning in. Trying to think of when I'll stream next. Might have a stream tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not quite sold on the stream quite yet tomorrow. Sunday is football day, so not going to have a stream on Sunday for sure. I do want to open up at least some windows for short live streams several times a week, hopefully from this point on, if all goes as planned. So expect more stream opportunities to come up in the near future. And hopefully some additional short form content as well. Checking everything real quick. Okay, yeah, that's gonna about do it for our stream tonight. So have a good night, everyone. Take care. Happy Black Friday.